Chargers Now is presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Will Ortner, and today we are going through all of the UDFA signings that the Los Angeles Chargers have made. There are 18 of them. That's right, 18. So we're going to make sure that you know every single player's name that's coming to join the squad in Los Angeles, and this is why you subscribe. Everyone else is taking this Sunday off. Not me, not producer Searle. We are in the building making sure that we get all of the news to you guys, and this, of course, is why you subscribe. Hit that sub button. You'll never miss out on anything on your favorite team. Let's start out with the first UDFA for the Chargers, Noah Avinger, safety from Utah State. Now, I think he's going to be a fine addition to this team. 5'11", almost 6 foot. I'm sure that's what it says on his Tinder profile. 188 pounds. Had a very successful season last year with Utah State over there in the Mountain West. Led the team with 10 pass breakups. 3 interceptions, ended up being on the All-Mountain West team. Let's go over to another guy in that state, however, playing Big 12 football, and that, of course, is Lander Barton, linebacker from Utah. Just a hair under 6'5", 232 pounds. Guy comes from Utah, very excited to play with his former ball club. Scouting report on him. He is a guy who ended up being a team captain. He made it on our Tom Downey's rankings. So we have a little bit more detail on him. Decent athlete, solid size, of course. He ended up being the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year back when that was still a real thing. 34 starts over there at Utah. Even played a little bit of offense as well. So definitely someone that could be used in certain packages for this team. Jerand Bradley, tight end out of Kansas State. Very interesting to see him get brought in here with the squad. Now, he's a guy from Texas. Fairly good size, 6'5", 250 pounds, or a hair just under that. Now, he's someone who played a lot of college football and had a lot of college football starts. 26 total, of course. Ended up having 111 receptions for his entire career, 1,500 yards. Bounced around a little bit, was over at Texas Tech, Boston College, and Kansas State. But he had a lot of success at every stop that he had, and he doesn't drop the football. Could add in on special teams for this squad. We're going to dive into even more of the UDFAs that the Chargers signed. But first, I got to let you know that today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. With playoff basketball finally here, there's no better time to cash in than with our friends at Prize Picks. And I'll tell you this, the app, it's super easy to use. To qualify for a Prize Picks lineup, pick 2 to 6 players and select more or less on stat projections, including points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers, and several others across all sports. If you're more of a baseball guy or gal, you can choose stats such as hits, home runs, and strikeouts. With the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. That includes myself and producer Searle. You follow us on Prize Picks and get the picks before they even get posted on the show. I got a lineup for the football action going on next year. Fernando Mendoza, less on his regular season game started. Jeremiah Love, less on his rushing yards. And Jordan Tyson, more on his receiving yards. New user offer. Download the Prize Picks app and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. That clickable link to download the app is in the comments and description of today's video. Let's talk about Sincere Brown next, wide receiver from Colorado. This is a guy that I don't think got enough shine or got nearly enough love. He's a bigger-bodied receiver, definitely very strong, not afraid to go in high point the football. Now, Colorado football might have been a little bit down last year. Didn't have Shedeur Sanders as his quarterback. Definitely had some issues with that. But someone who ended up having a decent catch total. You don't see any drops. That's going to be a huge thing. A lot of yards per catch, and I think that's going to be something important, and even ended up getting into the end zone a couple of times. Let's talk about the defensive lineman from Virginia, Jahmeer Carter. Now, when I look at Jahmeer Carter, I do think that he is going to be able to help on the interior of this defensive line and help that crew just get a little bit younger. End up playing 6 years over there for Virginia. Big-bodied guy as well. Ended up finishing his career with a total of 69 nice games played. had over 164 tackles, including 8.5 for loss. Now, last year, he was someone who helped really get that Virginia team into a position where they could have had a lot of success, and they definitely did that. All right, let's talk about Greg Desrosiers. Now, yes, I did have to read that off my sheet. My pronunciations are bad. I wanted to make sure that I nailed that. He's a running back out of Memphis, decent-sized kid. Also going to come in a little bit on the older side. We're seeing a lot more success right now, or at least a lot more interest from general manager Joe Hortiz and guys who have been around the block a little bit. When you look at his last season in 2025, obviously good success running the football, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Someone that I would say is very, very impressive. And he even had a game where he had over 204 yards and 3 touchdowns against Florida Atlantic last year. So a decent bulk of his carries and yards and touchdowns do come from one game, but definitely someone who can do a lot of good things for this Chargers team. Let's talk about the edge rusher from West Virginia, Devin Grant, next. Another guy that I think is going to add in pretty quickly to this team. He's an older guy. Now, he's a little bit on the smaller end of the spectrum, only 6'1", but he's still a big, strong guy. Ended up being a first-team All-MAC selection at Buffalo before he ended up going over to Syracuse. Had 16 starts over 22 games there. If you love the Los Angeles Chargers, make sure that you hit that like button on today's video. No one else is covering the team just like we are. All right, let's talk about Jacobian Guillory. Now, if I pronounce that name right, you have to like the video because everyone knows I'm bad at pronunciations, and I worked really hard on that one. Now, another 6-year senior here, played defensive line for LSU. Decent size, 6'2", 320. Definitely someone who can kind of bounce in if you want to go with a little bit of a smaller lineup where he's playing more of a nose guard. You can also bounce to the outside if you want to play a slightly bigger lineup. He's going to be a guy who's fighting for a position on this team. Not a lot of starts for the amount of games that he appeared in, which was 54 games. Only 18 starts, but he started basically every game last year. Very impressed with what he was doing. Let's talk about Niles King next, edge rusher from San Diego State. Definitely someone who helped push San Diego State to a very good season last year, along with Chris Johnson over there. He ended up joining from Grand Valley State, so another D2 kid. Shout out, 6'5", almost 6'6", big-bodied edge rusher. Got a lot of pressures. Would have expected to see a few more sacks, but ended up having a good TFL number there as well. So definitely someone who made the jump from D2 to D1, and it paid off for him big time. Devonte Ross, wide receiver from Penn State, is our 10th UDFA that we're going to talk about on today's program. A little bit of a smaller guy. That seems to be kind of the mold for Mike McDaniel and Joe Hortiz recently. Penn State, obviously, last year didn't have a lot of success. I would make the argument that this kid did. He made the jump up from Troy. We've seen Troy wide receivers jumping up into the Big Ten have a lot of success. He can return punts as well, so there's a little bit added ST value to his game. And he's also someone who, I'll tell you right now, if he can fix those drop issues, can see himself on the squad. Going to be a special teams guy, though, probably. Rodney Shelley, cornerback from Georgia Tech, is next. Interesting cat here. We've seen him have a lot of success in Georgia with Georgia Tech. End up being a 4-year member of the team over there. Played in 45 total games. 11 of those were in 2025. Led the team last year in interceptions. Great PFF grade. Again, probably an ST guy early on, but definitely someone who can build into even more than that. Avery Smith, cornerback from Toledo, is next. I like what this kid has, and he's someone that we saw have a lot of success in the MAC, including 2 second-team All-MAC honors. Both seasons he was a starter, so in 24 and 25. But he's also someone, in my personal opinion, that has showed that he's got a good culture fit. He's willing to hang out. No reason for him to be worried. He's got great control of his movement, really good in off coverage, great at reading plays. Not great necessarily if you're going up against a speedster guy, but super high effort. We love that. Last year, a lot of success in the MAC, helped kind of lead that Toledo defense that you saw have a lot of success there as well. Let's get another center from Fresno State, Jacob Spomer. Again, hopefully pronounce that name correctly. interesting kid here, a little bit undersized weight-wise while also being a little bit undersized height-wise. Ended up being a junior college kid, but did end up earning all Mountain West honors, so I think that is a big deal. Very high PFF grades, great in the pass pro. Could be someone that can add in more as a swing offensive lineman. He's going to be really fighting to end up making this team, but definitely someone that I think has an opportunity. Make sure that you hit that sub button. This is why you subscribe, man. You hit that sub button, you'll be covered on all the latest news and rumors on your favorite team, and no one else is covering the team like we are. Now, this next name, if I get this pronounced right and you don't subscribe to the channel, that's on effing you. Evan Svoboda. Svoboda. I apologize. Svoboda. Evan Svoboda. Producer Cyril helping me out there. 6'5", 250 pounds. Not a lot of receptions necessarily over at Wyoming, but definitely someone who is big, strong, physical at the point of attack. He's also a very great blocking player. Started his college career as a quarterback, so he's still kind of learning how to play the position. But I'm telling you what, once he figures it out, he's going to be damn good. Let's talk about Nadame Tucker next. Edge rusher out of Western Michigan. He ends up following Chris O'Leary, ironically enough. Another guy, played a long time in college, decent size, right? Got to continue to grow. Led all of Division I in sacks. That's pretty freaking cool. Now, he had a very, very good season last year. Clearly knows what defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary wants him to do. Great burst off the line of scrimmage, can really use his hands. Would at times, lose because he's not super big. But when you look at that sack number, 14.5, that's effing stupid. You don't see that in college football, and you're averaging at that point over a sack a game. Anytime you can get a player like that, that's incredible. Terry Webb from my own backyard here down in Dallas, defensive lineman from SMU. Played his final year of college football over with the Mustangs. A little bit undersized again, probably could bulk up, but we've seen a lot of these Puna Ford type defensive linemen that are shorter, squattier, have more success. Decent pass rush ability from the interior of the defensive line, ended up getting an all-ACC honorable mention. Let's talk about Jerry Wilson next, cornerback from Florida State, as we round out the last two guys that we're going to talk about on today's program. A little bit undersized, but he ended up starting in all 12 games, got an all-ACC honorable mention, ended up having 3 interceptions. That was good enough for 7th in the ACC, probably tied with quite a few different guys over there. Really like what Wilson was able to do. Think he can be a good ST player for this team. Last but not least, let's talk about Isaiah World, offensive tackle from the University of Oregon. Now, he started his career over at Nevada, transferred over to Oregon, ended up actually being the number 2 player in the transfer portal. Very large individual, 6'5.5", 323 pounds. Could technically bounce inside, but has been built over at tackle. Still has a lot of technique issues, and you saw that kind of kill him when he went against some of the better defensive ends in the Big 12. But I'm telling you right now, he is a strong, physical, aggressive offensive lineman. Definitely should get some run at tackle, potentially could be a swing tackle over his career. But I'm telling you right now, if you had to bounce him inside, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? And when I look at Isaiah World, he has the opportunity to have some success, but he's definitely got to continue to improve his techniques. That is definitely something that he's got to get figured out. Red pen time. Go down below in the comment section. Grade our UDFAs for the Los Angeles Chargers. A, B, C, D, or F. Were there any position groups that you didn't think the Chargers addressed well enough in the draft that they went in and addressed at a much better rate when it came to the UDFAs? Are there any UDFAs from your favorite college that you said, finally, some team went out and got them? Let us know what your opinion is down below in the comment section. And, of course, this is why you subscribe. No one else is doing this video. There's no one else on YouTube doing this. There's no one over at the mainstream media outlets that's doing this video. We are. We're going to keep you up to date with everything on the Chargers. So hit that sub button and make sure you bolt.